Cheers. It's the confusion episode of N-Space, or shall I say, it is one of the confusion episodes of N-Space. It is in fact so confusing, I'm very confused. And I've been confused, so I've been so confused that I've actually made beautiful pictures to try to work out how to best represent my topic, which is loosely based on Richard Feynman's lecture on quantum view of reality, part 1, which he actually did at Esalen Institute in Northern California. It's like kind of a place where highly educated New Age people go for workshops and seminars so they can broaden their perspective. So anyway, that's where that took place. Probably explains why he's walking around barefoot, which is pretty great. It's like you have to say you love Feynman way more for that than the suits and stuff. Anyway, yeah, so my thing here is loosely based on what he was talking about. Mostly it's based really on the principles of these boxes. So if you haven't seen it, in order to understand this particular episode of N-Space, you have to see Richard Feynman's Quantum View of Reality, Part 1, because otherwise none of this will make any sense at all. Not that it's gonna make sense, but then it really won't make any sense. So hopefully it'll all work out. I don't know. I've tried to explain this to myself here now for a bit, but I'm just gonna keep going. I started out with my picture. I'm so proud of my beautiful, beautiful picture, which makes all the sense in the world to me. But I'm not sure how much sense it would make to anybody else, because that's just how I work things out on paper. When I try to solve a problem, it looks like this. It doesn't look like numbers or like words. It looks like this. So makes sense to me, but even that's hard to do because I do all these things in my head, and they're kind of if it makes any sense. I don't know if it makes any sense, but the thought processes are kind of independent from any kind of necessarily tangible representation. They could find whatever form, depending. You know, they could find their way into words maybe, or into pictures, or into numbers, but that's not what they are. That's not what it is. It doesn't work that way, and it's so difficult to explain. It's like I don't know how to explain it, but it matters, because it's this it's like some sort of it's just patterns, if it makes any sense. But even that is too kind of limiting. Anyway, the thinking comes way before the language of choice. The thinking's already there, and then the language is just a layer on top of it, if that makes sense. So it's the thinking, or do I call it logic, or whatever it might be, is there. And then it's the next level, sort of superficial, that's the expression of whatever is going on. So that's what makes it kind of goofy for me to try to put this down somehow, because my most comfortable way of expressing myself is visually. So I kind of work things out that way. But if I have to put it down, but it's already there. It's just that how else do I say it? But it's already there. And that's how I process information. So, for example, a good example is, okay, this is going to be a thought experiment. Perfect. It's going to be a thought experiment because that's exactly actually what it is. So, in the thought experiment, it's raining. And it's a sort of a chaotic, random drops of the sound of the rain. And you're sitting there and you're just kind of like listening to this rain. It's random. There seems to be like a few times there's like, oh, something repeats. But it's so random that even the repetition is so random that it's kind of like you can dismiss it. But then after a while, it seems like there is some kind of rhythmic repetition, and it repeats enough within all of that randomness to where it snaps you out of something. And there is this sudden kind of sense that there's something happening here that has some sort of purpose to it. These are no longer just random raindrops where you've got a pattern repeating a couple of times kind of sporadically and you can dismiss it, but there's now something that's happening that's not coincidental anymore. And it raises a flag. There's a flag, some kind of metaphorical flag that goes up, and now the brain or the thoughts or whatever you want to call it is tuned into that to keep checking whether it happens again. And whenever it does, there's like a ping in this thought space, this thought space of the thought experiment. So there's these pings that are starting to happen. And that causes this really incredible, it's incredible when all of a sudden you encounter something like that. It's kind of like, it's a little bit like SETI, you know, searching for some sort of sign with radio telescopes, you know, and hoping that there's going to be a repeating pattern or looking for one, even if you're not hoping, just kind of like listening to this static, and all of a sudden you've got something. There actually is a pattern. There actually is something there. That moment of recognition just completely blows your mind. Completely, totally blows your mind, because in the beginning you kind of go, well, I'm just crazy. You know, I'm making patterns out of things, you know, just because I'm good at making patterns. And I'm good at making patterns. I'm very good at making patterns. So I tend to doubt my patterns for a significant, reasonable amount of time. You know, I double check my pattern recognition because it's too easy. It's too easy to find patterns. Whole world is sets of patterns. Sounds crazy, but it's those kinds of things that are underneath all of that language, and they're underneath all of it. It's just this. Anyway, I can't explain it. I can't explain it. But when you realize that there's actually a pattern that's repeating, that has to be probably it's one of the most significant moments that you could ever have. It kind of just like floors you. It completely floors you. Completely. And then you walk around for days going, this can't be right. There is no way. Even though you've done every single proof. You know, you've done all the whatever cross-checkings and you know, you do all that, of course, in your head, right? Checking all the different probabilities, all the components, you know, all the repetitions. You check it all, but you still go, this is just beyond. This is beyond. This has to be the most incredible thing I have ever experienced. Truly. That moment of of recognition. It's just unforgettable, unbelievable. And it's not like when you're looking at these raindrops and the patterns in the raindrops, it's not like, you know, there's just one of them. Oh no. Oh no. No, no, no. There are different ones. The whole thing becomes like, it's crazy. But the thing is, it keeps raining, right? So the major rain is still going on. It's still like raining. And then you've got these patterns that are appearing, and you've got it. And you go, there it is again. That's right, I was right. And then comes more rain. Until at some point, after enough recognition and repetition, it actually sinks in that this is not just I don't even know what you want to call it, that this is actually real. It's like, that it just blows the mind. It blows the mind. It probably, it goes down in the greatest moments in history.